Uh, Interesting pick from RNG. I still think overall it's a good pick up against that Morph. It gives you that control, that early burst, and it should be able to keep that hero in check. You really don't want to fall too far behind with a Morphling pick as CDEC. You want to be able to snowball really fast. Morph can play catch-up farm fine. You would have to invest in something like a Morbid Mask. That's what a lot of people go into if they have a rough start in lane. Then just really farm up the jungle, jump from camp to camp, but you don't want to go that far, right? That requires your team to really buy you a lot of space. CDEC, with that Centaur Warrunner, they do have the capability of buying that space, but RNG is really, really picking quite well into that morph. AA coming out now, you're not going to be seeing that strength morph be as effective as it should be.
Certainly not. It's going to be a very potent hero up against the Morphling, as you've already mentioned. Even the Centaur does really not enjoy the Ice Blast that'll be flying out from that AA. CDEC, though, we do see how they respond in just a moment. They have got their 4th pick up. I wonder where else they're headed. I mean, they still require that mid lane and a position 4 as far as I can see. Perhaps even a position 5 if they really want to go down that route. Oh, Venomancer will be the pickup. That's a hero we don't see very often. Not 100% sure why they bring it out, though. I mean, it is... There has been some videos popping up of pos for Venomancer's jungling. And I'm not sure whether that's going to be a thing, John, because I haven't had the pleasure of seeing this much. However, it's... I don't know. Do you have faith in this hero? Because I don't know if I do.
Well, the last time you and I saw this here in a game we've casted was Genisbris TIC qualifiers, if I recall right, and I don't recall that Venomancer actually working out quite well. In this situation with CDEC, I can see it maybe work out. The one thing is, if both Morphling and Venomancer have to go into that jungle, well, there's not going to be a lot of space. Both of these heroes need to eat up that space quite fast. Venomancer needs it to get in line early and push that early advantage before the BKBs are up, and Morphling just really needs that time to build up because he can jump from camp to camp, but his flash farm isn't, say, AM with a Battle Fury. He has the mobility, but the camp clearing and he has a lot of moments of vulnerability as this hero. It's going to be interesting to see if CDEC can secure a good start for both of these heroes. At the very least, make sure their Morphling's not shut down and the Venomancer matchup is favorable. I can see this pick working out. At the same time, if RNG get that snowballed start, they keep the aggression up, shut down map control, then there are a lot of issues for CDEC to worry about. They definitely have somewhat of a timer on their heads, and it should be interesting to see. It's a very different hero to come out here. It could be a support, as you mentioned. It could be the mid core as well. Or I doubt it's going to be the offlaner with that Centaur in the game. But you have all of those options available for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Final pick, CDEC. The Broodmother will be the ban, so no cheesy drafts coming out from RNG. CDEC will have none of that. Well, the final pickup now, we get to see how they finish this off and how they run this Veno that we're a little bit confused about. Still a mid lane required. There's a Rubik, so I suppose that's going to be the pos for or core Rubik, depending on just what CDEC feels like. They definitely throw a few mind games towards the side of RNG. What are you predicting, though? Core Rubik, position 4.
In this case, it's most definitely in my head. It's probably going to be that pause 4, but you do have that flexibility. That's the confusing thing about CDEC's draft. You can swap those heroes around the Venomancer and the Rubik. It still does feel like it should be that Venomancer core simply because he needs that space earlier on. if they're gonna be finding their timings right. RNG, they go into the Shadow Fiend, and that's something we don't see too often at all. So it's an interesting response. They shake it up. They give Monet the Ember Spirit on the safe lane, and they go to mid SF.
I like seeing the SF pop up, John. I'm a big fan personally. We don't see the SF much these days. What are you thinking? Is this a good pick? If it's a Venomancer mid, it kind of makes sense because you can just get the souls off the Veno wards. Apart from that, I'm not really sure why you pick up the SF here.
I reckon it's just really good against the Veno, and it comes online fast. It can burst down to Morphling as well early on before any of those defensive items are up for that hero. It's aggressive off the bat. It flash farms pretty okay. Like if the lane matchup doesn't work out, it can just go into jungle, build up stacks of souls that way. I think it's a really strong pick here, and you have to remember you have that AA as well to burst anyone around a map, so you have that backup. If you're going to go for the Yule's Requiem build, it's going to be very easy to find that kill every single time, and you can snowball that way. Overall, RNG's draft is looking much more cohesive, much stronger. It definitely spikes and peaks at that mid game, so you don't want to be overextending this game. You will be going late game against mainly the Morphling. That's your biggest worry in that late game. You do have ways of scaling up. It's going to be interesting to see these drafts going on. It's a bit of a shakeup from what we're used to, but I'm really excited to see these heroes in play.
Oh, absolutely, I am as well, John. I am as well. Apologies, 1 second. Just, of course, setting things up last minute as per usual. But there we go. We are up and online. CDEC versus RNG. Game number 1. It should be a very fun matchup between these two. John, it's a pleasure to have you here as always. And I'm very intrigued to see how all this pans out. And it does appear it is going to be a mid-Veno. So they do have the mid-Veno up against Setsu's SF. And so it starts to make sense to me like we talked about already. It's just due to the fact that I believe you could just farm the souls out of those wards very, very easily from the Venomancer.
Yeah, it's something you can abuse as the SF. I am actually curious to see whether or not XM will prioritize those wards, or is going to go for a raw right-click damage kind of dominating the lane with Venomous Gale and the Poison Sting being prioritized. I think in this case, against this matchup, if you want to win your lane, you have to go for that build. Otherwise, if you expect yourself to go jungling, you will need a Plague Wards. But again, you're going to be sharing that jungle with Eve's Morphling at some point, so you don't want to eat into it too much.
So Eve going to have a lot of pressure on him in this game to try and escalate with that farm quite quickly. RNG will be very aggressive with this draft. They do have the ability to take the Morphling out. We already mentioned the Ice Blast from FF. All eyes on him to actually land those perfectly on that Morphling and make it impossible to Strength Morph. Of course, I'm specifically interested in the mid matchup, so we are going to have a quick look at that, see how these two pan out. XM, of course, went for the level 1 Poison Sting. That's nothing to be surprised about. Pretty standard stuff. Generally speaking, though, you may opt for the level 1 Gale just for that added harassment. It looks like XM's not entirely interested in that. He'd rather just have the Poison Sting. But he hasn't really harassed with it yet, so not sure how worthwhile it's going to be, I suppose.
It's pretty decent. I think level 1 Gale's only really good in the dual lane. It guarantees you a kill. If you're going to be going down mid, level 1 Sting is pretty good. He does grab his Gale with level 2, so it looks like XM is gearing up for a QW build, focusing on those first 2 spells instead of the wards, which does kind of work against that SF.
We'll go for the Gale now. Raises from Setsu. Don't really do too much at level 1. XM can definitely out-harass the hell out of this SF for now. So we'll have a quick look at the other lanes, see how all that's panning out. Monet and FF are up there at the top lane, up against 1, 2, 3 and James. 1, 2, 3. Trying to shut Monet down the best he can on that Ember. Hasn't been so successful in doing so yet, but he has pretty much kept up in farm. So at least for now, you are just directly trading. The thing is, when you've got a Rubik Centaur lane, there's always the fear of being lifted into Stomp. And so you'd imagine once you hit that level 2 or 3 mark, you'd see that starting to come out.
Definitely. It's a really potent dual lane to have, but you have to give it to RNG as well. The Ember and AA lane is actually not too shabby. If you invest in the early level and chain, it could be a kill if you really put your aggression. It does look like RNG is just trying to find farm Monet, so they're not going to be pushing the envelope too much.
XM now, nice double damage run on the Venom. That's going to make his life a hell of a lot easier. Look at Setsu though, he's already got 12 souls available, so he is not struggling. In fact, throws out more razors, hasn't got really mana for the third one, and it's a close range one anyway. He does have 2 mangoes available though, so XM's always going to be a little bit afraid of those popping out again. We are actually going to have a bit of a pause coming out. And luckily for us, it will not be a long one. And this is going to be a concern for CDEC though. Like Setsu is farming way too well on that SF. And XM is getting harassed the hell out with those razors.
It is concerning XM. He did go for a 2-2 on his build now. So 2 levels in that Gale, 2 levels in the Sting. Really going for the right-click harass. That means he's not going to be farming that jungle as fast as you'd expect. Although the rotation from James now.
Yeah, James is going after it. Meanwhile, Sal from XM, they want to keep going. Cold Feet comes in from FF. He's trying to help his mate out. Though, there's the lift, and Setsu is definitely dead. XM with the first blood, and more so a fantastic rotation coming out from James on the Rubik. Very important because Setsu was just outright winning that mid.
It definitely was quite important. They do manage to get one nice kill, slowing down that SF. I believe beforehand, Setsu did pop 2 mangoes as well. So he wasted a bit of regen, didn't find that kill, goes back in with a fresh set of mangoes, really investing heavily to win out in this lane.
Well, looks like FF actually claims the kill on James, though it does look like James was just denying himself to a tier 2 tower. Perhaps just misunderstood how much damage the AA had done. Just having a quick look at that bot lane where Fly went on the Tiny. Having a pretty decent time. 20 last hits, 5 denies. He hasn't so much been able to shut down Eve, but he has been doing a great job of just farming up, getting the farm he needs. Meanwhile, Monet, though, ends up going down top lane. So 1, 2, 3 ends up finding that kill. And as I look away, the Ogre also ends up going down bot lane to dogfights.
Yeah, it's a pretty fast lane from both sides. Again, that kill potential is always there if you do manage to get your positioning right. I like seeing that pressure coming out from both teams. They understand that these safe laners are going to be setting that pace later on. It's much more pertinent for CDEC to get that good start on Eve, but he's already doing quite well, as mentioned earlier. 20-4, not the worst thing in the world. Pretty even with Monet. So both teams are keeping their cores relatively even, and that does come down to that investment. Although James is back mid.
Yeah, they just keep allowing him to run mid like this, and Setsu, he's the one copying the punishment. There's no wards down that mid lane to indicate James running down. He's just freely able to walk down the river and keep doing this. And Setsu is still top of the last hits board, regardless of this happening. But that's the second time he's gotten away with that rotation.
It's really a bit worrying to see that coming out from RNG. Just the fact that their wards have not spotted out. They drop a ward now to kind of keep that in check. But James has already gotten 2 rotations out. He's found a setup up top. He's found 2 kills down mid. I don't think he's going to be upset if the rotations down mid don't work out anymore. He's gotten so much space for his Veno that he's at 6. He has Plague Wards. He can jungle now.
That's exactly right. You've already given CDEC exactly what they wanted, so they're not going to mind the wards. And as you said, XM, he's already rotated down to that jungle spot, trying to control up those power runes as well while he's there. And this is just a much safer play. He knows he can't go 1v1 up against the SF, so he'll just get back to the jungle, secure that free farm. And, I mean, the jungle isn't a slow process for the Veno either, because he can just leave the jungle with wards there, go back into the lane, farm that up, and he's still getting that gold coming in from the jungle as his wards take the creeps out. Because top lane, Monet does find the kill onto 1-2-3. And bot lane, we might have another. Eve getting an avalanche tossed up. It will not lead to a kill, however. But it does keep him very, very low on this Morphling. And without any regen, it does look like he's going to be forced to shrine up.
Top tower is under attack. Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
Meanwhile, Setsu still top of the net worth board. Again, regardless of those kills that happen mid, he just doesn't care. He'll remain there. Even though you did find those two early kills, you've got to continue trying to shut Setsu down. They do have rather quick catch-up potential on the SF, especially in the jungle, just with those raises and right clicks.
I mean, all things considered, you take a look at Setsu, he's still level 8, still top of the last hit charts. Farm isn't as much as you'd expect, at least in terms of net worth, because he was buying a lot of regen, so it did get invested there. But I think with the EXP you've gotten on this SF, you're going to be really happy. You already have max Necromastery, you've got your max raises up, you can do a lot more work. James just casually checking the jungle, walking up to him.
And this James just doing heaps of work for the side of CDEC, keeping tags of Setsu. FF, gonna get caught out. Cold Feet is there, but it will not matter. XM will happily just take the kill on the Veno. Meanwhile, bot lane, Illuminate doing a lot of damage. The Ogre almost dropping. And Eve not looking too great either. Will just continue strength morphing his way in this lane. But Flywind's getting so much on that Tiny. He's already second in net worth now. He's gonna go for another avalanche on Eve, continue applying that pressure and making it hard to get those last hits. And this is going to be super bad for CDEC, because not only have you got this SF, but now you've got this Tiny who's going to have a fast blink up. He's going to be able to be very aggressive with his team.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
Setsu no longer at the top of the net worth. Being overtaken by his own Ember, but more importantly, the Centaur. 1-2-3, having a great old time up at the top lane. Just been left alone. Monet will finally join him once again. Just not much you can do, though, because he's already got that Hood of Defiance up. So all that magic burst from the Ember is just useless towards 1-2-3. He can freely farm this lane up with no issues whatsoever. In fact, he can just steal Monet's farm.
It's rough. At this point, this top lane is not something you can safely contest with your supports.
Setsu.
That's why you're seeing FF down mid.
Setsu may just be dead. He's going to have to get at least a night off. Can they get the deny? No. No, apparently not. FF did not even go for it. The Ogre will go for a Fire Blast. They'll just continue running in. Stampede there as well. It's going to be another kill going to CDEC. I'm not sure why he didn't go for that deny attempt. It looked like he was going to, but it just never happened.
Yeah, not too sure about that one. Rather unfortunate for RNG, but Setsu's really caught him short end of the stick here. Right, he's definitely lost out in mid now. He is still farming okay, all things considered. He's still above that Morphling, but CDEC has gotten everything they wanted. They apply that pressure quite early. You see the Ice Blast coming in, not going to stop this push. And that's the mid-tier 1 going down at around 10.5 minutes in.
It's some great play from CDEC. Really abusing this draft they have. Eve going to be in trouble bot lane, but not enough trouble. This Flywind still just can't dish out the damage. They have kept his net worth very low. So that's one positive going for RNG right now, as the Morphling is not farming very, very well at all. In fact, considering Setsu's lane, he's actually ahead of the Morphling still by about 600 gold. And looking at Flywind's farm, he does actually have enough gold for the Blink Dagger if he wishes to pick it up before the bottle. And I believe he will just do that, because I think he understands he needs to be active right here, right now.
Yeah, it's fair enough. He has his Kotl for mana regen at the very least, so he can kind of just go around making these plays. Dogfights has been babysitting. Oh, no.
Ice Blast will not connect on the Morph. That was the important one. Flyone just going to back off. FF actually does end up finding the Ogre in the end with that Ice Blast passive. And Flyone will look for another opportunity to jump on Eve. He's got the blink up. He jumps in. Avalanche Toss is going to be there. Eve, though, he's just so tanky. The Ice Blast comes in. He just jumps straight after Flyone. The Cold Feet going to be enough in conjunction with James on the Rubik. Now the Will-O-Wisp coming out, but it does do nothing towards James. The Morphling walks out of there anyway. And that's going to be a 7-4 now for CDEC, as it looks like they might find the Rubik. Yeah, Monet is here. He gets cold feeted up, though. And James walks out.
What? No. James, on this Rubik, has just been doing so much for CDEC, just setting up for these counter kills, saving his Morphling every single time, and saving himself. That was a massive commitment from RNG to rotate Monet out from that top lane to try and to find a kill. And it doesn't pay off. That was the blink reveal on Flyone as well. They go in twice with a Toss Avalanche combination, not finding that kill. It's a rocky start for RNG, but a very smooth start for CDEC. This is exactly what they want. They're getting away with the greed of having that Morphling and the Veno around, and they're clearing out the map slowly but surely.
Well, Setsu's up at top lane with an Invis rune now. He has the Yules up if he wants to go for a Requiem attempt. Looks like he'll try on XM. Just with the Invis, but he wants that perfect positioning. Ice Blast going to come in. XM gets blown up. And now the cavalry comes in. Monet, he jumps straight towards that Ogre. Doesn't actually get the chains off, I don't believe. Nevertheless, Flyone will toss back 1, 2, 3. This should be another simple pick off onto this Centaur. Razor's coming out. Avalanche there as well. And 1, 2, 3 will not even get the tower, as Setsu does deny while taking out the Centaur. Great rotations from RNG. They'll even out the kill score 7-7 now.
Yeah, that sets them up quite nicely. It does turn a bit of that lost momentum back their way. Good news for RNG is that was their first Requiem usage, and it pays off. You just clump up your heroes, you get that going, you find the big targets in that Venomancer, and you're suddenly going to be very happy. They are still losing map control. That is still a major point of concern for RNG, but they are keeping this this net worth deficit in check. Less than 1k lead now for RNG. All things considered, very even game.
And the one person to keep a close eye on is going to be Eve on that Morphling, who is continuing to struggle. He's been forced into the jungle now, as Flyone's become way too much of an issue with the blink. In fact, he'll go into the mid lane for a bit. Monet's around the area with a double damage though, so it's not recommended he stick around too long. In fact, Monet will actually rotate down to the bot lane, where they'll try to set up more kills and perhaps just take that tier 1 tower. And once that tier 1's down, Veil will be up for Monet, and that'll mean he can actually start getting aggressive, or more so aggressive with his team. So he will grab the tier 1. No contestant will come out from CDEC, although there will be a smoke from CDEC. They run straight into FF. Fire Blast Lift is there as well. They don't really chain it correctly, but it does not matter. FF cannot sustain against 4 heroes, and the rest of RNG will not bother trying to save him.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame, but not the biggest loss for RNG. Just losing out in that AA. He did drop a Sentry Ward as well, so the next time they walk around a Shrine area, they should find that Observe Ward, although it is taken out now by Victoria. They do manage to not even find that control on the map, which is rather unfortunate now. Still, you take a look at RNG, you already have that Veil on Monet, as you mentioned earlier, and it's super effective. It's just really good for his entire team, not just for himself. It's going to amp up the damage from his SF, from his Tiny, even from the AA. It just really clumps into this draft quite nicely, and they should look to use that aggressive earlier on. They want to take advantage of this moment when they're really strong. The BKBs aren't going to be up from CDEC anytime soon. You got to apply pressure on the map and really take over at this point with that key item pickup.
Well, at least for now, he's just going to keep farming up. Looks like he wants to go straight to the Maelstrom, which is very standard for an Ember. We'll just start farming that up instead. Flyone is really the initiator for RNG that they need roaming around the map, but it looks like he's trying to finish off that Echo Saber. All smoke, but the Ogre breaks it immediately. Flyone gonna jump in. Avalanche Toss is gonna be there, and that'll be an easy pickup. They definitely wanted a better target though. They didn't want to commit a smoke just for that, but maybe 1, 2, 3 will stick around. In fact, he does. Avalanche, Flyone, Won't chase after the hood is popped. In fact, that is a pipe 123 has now. So 8-8. Net worth lead remains the same. RNG, they aren't even going to apply pressure to that tier 2 yet. They are just going to go head straight to mid.
Yeah, they can just easily clear out that key piece of map control now and really start to even out the map. We are seeing pretty much the same control from both sides, although the aggression still coming out here from RNG, going up top.
Yeah, XM, they want this Venomancer. Flywind jumps in, doesn't go for the avalanche though, but gets Yule Stomp. Setsu, he gets lifted mid-Requiem. They get the chains, but an XM trying to run, will not get away from Monet. Eve is here now on the Morphling. He is going to find Setsu. It'll be XM that picks the kill up. Now Fire Blast on the Emma. Can they burst in Monet? Will Remnant forward. Avalanche there, but Monet's in still quite a bit of trouble, but the Will-O-Wisp will save him. They'll take Flyone on the Tiny instead, and Monet will run for his goddamn life. FF will have Ice Blast in 3 seconds if he wants to try for the Ogre, but he's already got the pipe up and active. So they probably won't even try. That is a 2-for-2 trade in the end. It does still look like it favors CDEC because they get much more gold out of that. And they'll just happily back out.
They forced a lot out of RNG there as well, and it was RNG on the offensive, but they just didn't manage to get that initiation right. If you took a look there, XM with a Force Staff was really quick with his fingers, turning around immediately, getting himself out of that Ice Blast range, buying enough time for CDEC to get the reinforcement in and find those counter kills. That's what really gave them that opening there. So props to XM, he just immediately played around that initiation quite well, and it did cost RNG. They did not want to lose Setsu there. Very high priority target, high net worth target that you don't want to be losing out on. He's going to have to sit back a bit, get his stacks back up, and, you know, wait again before they go for another smoke attempt like that.
Well, they'll find the Ogre while you were speaking about that. It was a very easy pickup. It was just Ice Blast and chains. Nothing too shocking there. 123 though may be pretty shocking himself as he does have the Blink Dagger up now. And Monet may have to find out the hard way. He is the prime candidate for 123 to test this Blink out. He's just waiting for a couple more friends. Monet still has not spotted this Centaur, and they jump in. Hoof Stomp, no, nice dodge. Sleight of Fist from Monet, the reaction from this Ember Spirit, getting the hell out of there. That would have almost meant certain death, as you had James and the Ogre right behind the Centaur. It will not work out, and that'll also give Monet enough time to go ahead and pick up his Maelstrom.
That's one of the rougher things about CDEC's draft. They don't have the best instantaneous lockdown for this Ember Spirit, and Monet has been pretty on point, just dodging out those kinds of spells. You can expect to see a lot more of that coming out from him if you're not careful with your initiation, although
He breaks the smoke on the Ogre. They almost find Monet again. In fact, Monet's sticking around. He might try and turn this on the side of CDEC. Little does he know there are 4 heroes around the area, and they are going to start applying that pressure now. Bot lane pressure is there as well, though. RNG with Setsu and Flyone just taking down that tier 2 tower, and now they'll be able to come in and defend that mid lane as well if they wish. RNG, though, don't really need the help. They have the Coddle there with the level 3 Illuminate anyway. That's exactly what he starts doing towards the creep wave. And it looks like CDEC, they will transition up to that top lane instead.
It's a much safer move for them. They understand that RNG was set up down mid, although there are still TP opportunities, but this tower dies way too fast. It's just going to go down. And that is a nice trade. I guess in the end, that's a tier 2 for a tier 2 on both sides. Are definitely going to be okay with that. You're not going to be overjoyed as CDEC. You're also not going to be overjoyed as RNG. But you are holding out. Your map control is still relatively even. Slight edge for CDEC on for holding onto that tier 1 down mid. Just provides him a little bit more space to respond with. But you have to really admire RNG's wards here. They have some really aggressive wards on that bot jungle. The issue is CDEC has not been playing around that bot jungle. They have been playing quite nicely up in the opposing jungle, the enemy jungle. So they're working their farm quite well in that sense, and they haven't been able to maximize these wards.
No, they certainly haven't. CDEC, they will continue hanging around the top jungle, though as I say that, they do run towards that bot side jungle. Setsu was farming it up. They're trying to catch him out. Setsu, though, is almost at his BKB now. So once that BKB's up, you're suddenly not as afraid of this Venomancer. And I imagine we'll see a rotation from Setsu once it is available. Look over to Monet as well. He's doing the exact same thing. And Eve goes in on Flywin. He's by himself, though, and he's completely surrounded. But RNG, they don't jump it. They think he has backup. He, in fact, did not.
Radiant's top tower is
CDEC now comes in with the smoke. Straight through the dire jungle, though. It looks like Monet will break it, but he could not dodge that hoof stomp. Still, Will-O-Wisp comes in. Flywin avalanche toss is perfect. The stampede away will help CDEC get out of there, but Remnants forward, straight from Monet. Chains on to both 1, 2, 3 and James, and now the Ice Blast straight onto that Rubik. Monet, can he get the Remnant? He definitely can. They found James, well, they found 1, 2, 3 as well on the Centaur. Now the Venomancer, he pops the Nova. Setsu, Requiem available, pops the BKB. Doesn't even want a Requiem, just takes his sweet, sweet time. Monet will pick up a triple kill. And the only man that walks away from that is Eve on the Morphling.
That was surprising coming out from CDEC. They already knew that Eve was walking into a lot of heroes there. They still proceed with that smoke, and they don't have vision in that jungle. That's the one thing here. They don't have the aggressive wards that RNG had on the opposite side. They really just had no vision game there. They forced that issue out, and in the end, that does cost them a wonderful play coming out from RNG. Very good BKB reveal onto Setsu as well, and that does give them the tier 1 up top.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
RNG now, smoke up.
Radiant's middle
BKBs are available on Flywin on that Tiny. He just hasn't brought it out on the Courier yet. Feels like he may not need it for this next engagement. Ice Blast was there to scout from FF, but he doesn't find anybody with it. But XM, gonna place a ward, kind of making it obvious where he is. And RNG, they are gonna back off to safety anyway, as there is farm to be had for Setsu. Setsu is actually going all in on that Requiem, by the way. He is going BOT straight into the Aghanim Scepter. And it's been such a long time, but with the Veil of Discord there from Monet, it will be very, very effective. As 1, 2, 3, nice blink TP away. Setsu could not quite find him. They are still sending abilities up to try and scout it out. They'll realize he's gone now. But as I was saying, with that Requiem Aghanim Scepter, and with the Veil of Discord from Monet, it's going to be a hell of a lot of damage coming out.
It definitely is. It ties into RNG's draft quite nicely. You are having a lot of sources of damage amp. Again, they're playing around at Ice Blast. They're just trying to burst down a couple of key heroes, which basically is the Morphling. Past a certain point, you really only care about that Morph. The Venomancer starts to taper off in effectiveness. So you've got all the tools in the world to burst down Eve. The issue is Eve himself now has the BKB up, and he's had that Linken's for a while. So you have a lot to play up against now as RNG. You definitely have to get that initiation pixel perfect. Otherwise, it's going to be a tall ask to catch out this Morphling.
He's getting to that point. I mean, so defensive on Eve, but you can't blame him. He had such a rough laning stage, and there's just so many ways they can just take him out of a team fight. With that BKB Linken's, now you've really got no way, apart from just right-clicking. As Monet is going to run in, make his presence evident. Eve going to morph into the Ember and fight back. Double Chains comes out, Eve still going to strength morph and run away though. But Monet's not giving up. The Ice Blast flies in. It will not actually connect. Still Flywin. Avalanche Toss is going to be there, but Eve is just continuing to morph. And Monet, no, he's not giving up. He wants to keep going. Does not connect the chains. And that'll be the end of that. They had the Ogre coming in just in case. And Eve will happily shrine up.
Yeah, that's a pretty Decent try coming out from RNG. I mean, if they landed up Ice Blast, that might have been a kill, especially with the follow-up there from Flywind. Unfortunately, it didn't land. A bit of hesitation perhaps on those chains, or just cooldown on those chains, not landing right outside that blast radius. Rather unfortunate, but Eve should be happy. And again, reaching that point where it's going to be very hard to kill this guy off, although...
1, 2, 3. Getting saved by James once again. The lift coming in handy up against Setsu. This has really been the bane of Setsu's existence this game. Just that lift from the Rubik. Constantly coming in and saving his allies. And while he was doing that, XM picks up that full Aghanim Scepter. Things are looking rather nice for CDEC. I mean, they've still got concerns because you do have so many BKBs on RNG, but the damage output is certainly coming up now for this Radiant side.
It definitely is. You have a lot more utility with XM's ultimate now. That lowered cooldown should help you out with the pacing of this game, which allows CDEC to really just play the way they want. They do find a kill onto the Ogre. I'm fairly certain that's not the kill they want, though. Trading away your big ultimate like that to just finally find a support kill is rather underwhelming, but RNG will probably just take what they can get with how well CDEC has been dodging these big ganks.
Yeah, absolutely. Just take a support if you can get it. Get that ultimate on cooldown. No point having it off cooldown if it gets no use. Not that Setsu hasn't been trying. Also that CDEC is just being so good at evading these Requiems. Then again, Setsu is actually going for a Scythe of Vice now, rather than the Aghanim Scepter. So you're going to have a lot more control coming out from this SF. I believe there was actually another Scythe in the air, Dogfights. He's doing the exact same thing on the Keeper of the Light. So 2 Scythe of Vice being queued up, that's going to spell a lot of problems for Eve on this Morphling. As if he does get caught out with that Scythe of Vice immediately, he's basically just dead.
Yeah, there's no two ways about it. He's just gone. He does have the Lincolns to play with first, so it's up to RNG to really get all their item usages on point. Again, he could just pop his BKB in time. It's really down to reflexes, how fast you can really sense it.
CDEC smoked up, moving in. FF gonna be spotted out. Hoofstomp will be there immediately though. Will-O-Wisp will come out, holding them in place. Meanwhile, Flywind going straight after James, takes down the Rubik. Now they can go straight after the Ogre as well. 1, 2, 3, your BKB is going to wear off very, very soon. But XM, he comes in. He has the Nova available. He's just waiting the BKBs out a bit. They'll go after the tiny Flywind. He goes down thanks to Eve. And Monet already setting up to get out. Now Hoofstomp though comes in 1, 2, 3. They'll find a kill. Dogfights, Glimmercape trying to get out of there. He'll have a 4-staff in a second. He'll use it and TP out immediately. And does get out in time. It looks like RNG do end up somehow losing that team fight after such a great start. But it was just a matter of once the BKBs wore off, that's when CDEC really could start using their abilities, and that's when they win the team fight.
It came down to the fact that RNG popped their BKBs a bit earlier as well, off the bat, to clean up those 2 supports, really. When the cores came in, they just didn't have that magic immunity anymore. Setsu could not rejoin that fight confidently without his backup. And they just get blown up. You really have to be conscious about who you expend those BKBs for. They blew it for James first. They found a follow-up on Victoria. But that's really just not enough to justify these defensive items. Now they might find a kill in dogfights if he's not careful.
No, they should be able to, but it looks like they won't make the jump. Dogfights will just force himself out. Eve, though, will happily go after the mid-tier 2. That's really what they came for anyway. Now you're going to gain a lot more map control, although the SF getting caught out. Setsu galed up as well. He pops the BKB straight into the Requiem. They can't lift him this time, but the 4-staff is there from XM. It will not matter. They will get the kill, but here comes the cavalry. Monet gonna be in trouble. Remnants towards the east. They'll go after the tiny instead. Flywind force the BKB up as well. And CDEC, do you want to keep going? Well, the Ogre says yes. Flywind will blink out, and it looks like everyone will be fine. But CDEC, they just have so much turnaround potential in these team fights. They won't find any kills this time, but they essentially waste 3 BKB charges for the side of RNG.
That's going to be the name of the game here. Just when you pop those BKBs, who pops them first? What do you find with that usage? This time around, RNG does win out. They find a much bigger kill in that Venomancer, so they're going to be very happy about that. Still, though, you don't manage to find a follow-up. You are kind of forced back there. The fights just get broken up when you see that magic immunity flying out from CDEC as well. They are going to try again. They smoke up. Perhaps they can keep building up and find a bigger kill. They want to take Eve. They haven't actually killed him this entire game.
Well, they might find him now, running straight into the man. They spot him out. They just need to get those side devices. Ice Blast, Avalanche Toss, Fly One. Eve, though, he BKB's up. It won't be enough. FF with the Ice Blast passive. Still finding the damage. And it looked like he was about to get his way out, but now it looks bad for CDEC as they are going for more on the side of RNG.
Tower is under attack.
They won't catch anyone, but they will be able to go after that mid-tier 1 tower.
Yeah, that's the one massive kill they were looking for this entire time. They also managed to waste that BKB from the Morphling, so they're going to be really happy. He's down to a 7-second charge, and that's just much less time to be worrying about that magic immunity. They also transition to that Roshan pit, and it's going to be a very fast take for them. No contention coming out from CDEC just yet, although lines are drawn.
Lines are being drawn indeed. Smoke is there, but they're just a bit late to the party. Unless XM goes in, but now he's going to be in trouble. Flywind doesn't get the avalanche, gets 4-star forward, he's out of position. And Stampede, CDEC does not want to fight this. They don't want to fight into the aegis of Monet. BKB Setsu will go after the Rubik. Pops the BKB very early on. Ice Blast will not connect either. But here comes Flywind. Avalanche, though, Yules is there. Now tossed straight onto the Rubik. Take him out. But if we're talking about BKB usages, that was 2 BKB usages for the sake of a Rubik kill.
It's not the most value use of that item. At the same time, you could think about it as securing that Roshan as well, securing your Aegis. That was a tertiary fight to the pit. So in a sense, it's still kind of worthwhile for RNG if you justify it that way. You do have yourself some a second life now in Monet. He's going to be much more useful to have around. He has his Ags up. Jumping all over the place can be very hard to deal with his Ember Spirit at this point for CDEC. And they are slowly building up their lead. 4K net worth advantage, 14 to 21. You check out that Dota Plus probability chart. It's a 55% chance for RNG, but it's still overall a really even game. They are playing into the later part of the game against Morphling, and that is still slightly worrisome. He still has a lot more room to grow. Working on that Scotty next. Once that's up, it's going to be that much harder to burst through him. It hasn't been the smoothest run for even these team fights, but he is still finding that considerable form that you want to see in a core morph.
And that's the thing, like Eve has not really fought with his team much at all this game. In fact, every team fight you see, he is really just leaving quite early on if he feels like they're not going to win it out. So once he's got those damage items up, once he's essentially 6-slotted, you already talked about it, but things get a lot more complicated for RNG. And as I said, we haven't really seen a proper 5v5 from CDEC yet, as Eve just doesn't feel ready yet. Though, mid lane, 1, 2, 3, forced the BKB up to Stampede away. Monet still wants to chase. Setsu will think better of it. He did have a double damage, which is why he wanted to get there so desperately, but he will not find 1, 2, 3. Still, that was his 8-second charge, and his Stampede being used up. And perhaps now RNG could just find another hero on the map anyway.
Yeah, they're still going for more.
Well, you've got the Ags on Monet. He jumps straight into it. Now he's being controlled up. Sleight of fist there. Hex is coming out straight on XM on the Veto. Now the Will-O-Wisp holding everyone in. The Ogre gonna be in trouble. He's gone. Have they found anyone else? It looks like they found FF on the AA. Monet, who do you fight? He's getting controlled by Eve with his own chains. He can't get out. He does have Aegis though. Flywind, ready with the Avalanche toss. Now the Hex comes in from Setsu. James goes down to the Rubik. Buybacks flying out. Monet, he'll fight 1, 2, 3, and of course the Ogre at the same time. In fact, he'll go after the Ogre first. Take him out, Remnant out, make these buybacks worth nothing. But Flywind is going to continue being chased down. He dusts up. 1, 2, 3 will jump in. Has the hoof stop. Still being controlled up, but look at Setsu. He's ready to jump back in. 1, 2, 3 now. BKB wears off. Monet gets the chains. Setsu finds the kill. Now the BKB forward. They got the Hex on the Morphling. Ice Blast there. Eve going to be okay though. They will not chase any further. And as I say that, James jumps back in by himself. Monet turns around again, chains straight on the Rubik, Yule's up, Eve, he's gonna have to try and man fight this James, he's gone down, the sight device on the Morphling, Requiem though, it's been cancelled off somehow. Where did that stun come from?
It's the
Eve.
lift.
Requiem, it won't be good. Eve will find the kill. And what a team fight we just saw. There was about 3 or 4 turns from either side. But in the end, you'd call that a CDEC win, I believe.
Overall, yeah, it's a massive CDEC win. They did manage to expend the Aegis. They did manage to waste a lot more for RNG. They did use a couple of buybacks there. So, not the ideal. Still, those were probably under supports. Yeah, but on both supports, you did have to buy back. Still worthwhile. You managed to find those nice kills to even out that net worth advantage down to just about 2k. The reason Eve lived there, and the reason the Requiem didn't go off, before James died, he got a lift off. He got the telekinesis off. Mid-channel drops down when he's dead, and the Requiem just doesn't happen. I mean, how unfortunate do you have to be there, but how aware is James every single time in these fights?
He sees those arms waving and swinging about. He immediately wants to lift them up. The SF will not be enjoying himself with this Rubik. Hasn't been the whole game. It's still an 18 to 27 though. 3k net worth lead for RNG. They are in the driver's seat. The main concern is though remaining. Eve has an Eye of Skadi up now and is actually going straight into the Daedalus. So pure DPS coming out from him next. And once that Daedalus is up, you don't really have so many DPS issues with that Morphling. In fact, if he does go into to morph into the Tiny later on, you do have the Tree Volley available, which is when things get very, very fun.
Yeah, it's just really something else to watch. If that is something Eve is looking for. Again, with that Daedalus, it's very possible he does have to work himself to that Ags first to get the volley up. Nonetheless, it's going to be very scary to see coming out from CDEC. This is the issue about going late game against your lineup. It scales really well. It has a lot of versatility with that more.
Double chains on the Centaurs, straight on that Rubik. Will-O-Wisp is going to be there. Ogre's down. Rubik pretty darn low. James, he's gone as well. Now they want to chase. Monet, who can you find? XM, he'll be chained up, but now they'll turn it back around. Eve jumps straight in. Monet getting very, very low. Poison Nova, it'll come out as well. Setsu, he's falling low. He uses himself up, but he's almost guaranteed to die, and he does. Dogfights, he'll be the next target. He's going down to Eve, and somehow, I mean, they lose 2 supports. It's a 3v5 situation, and CDEC says, screw it, we've got enough people to make this team fight work.
It's Eve with a turnaround. He was morphed into that Ember. He gets the chains off onto Monet, breaking up the chase from RNG, taking away a lot of their DPS, forcing him back. Dogfights has to deny him in the end. And now their tier 3s are under threat.
It just happens that quick. They're going to lose a Rax out of this. Monet is not going to bother buying back quite yet. He may have to if they rotate down mid though. And yeah, CDEC, they're doing it. They're going to force this out. He'll buy back now. Is that going to be enough to force them back? Not without Setsu and not without FFAA. But Flyman's going to try and sneak up. Get that perfect avalanche toss, and that's exactly what he does, but it's no damage really being dealt to Eve, and now they turn around. Flyman. Eve will leave that be. He gets a secondary Rax, and why not go for the third? You still haven't got Setsu up and available. Eve is still very healthy as well. Poison Nova being spread out on Monet. He's going to go back to that fountain. It's a lot of damage. XM just keeps moving forward with his own BKB. Flyman getting ready for the avalanche toss. Doesn't throw it out. He didn't have the avalanche available. Now the hoof stomp. 1, 2, 3 finds it. The Glimmer Cape perfect, but the dust is there. Eve will take down another. No buyback available on the Tiny. They've got Megas. They back up, but the GG's been called. What a game.
Oh, what a game indeed. 40 minutes in, 22 to 29, 11k net worth lead for CDEC at the end. A very even game until it came out to that one fight where Eve just jumps in, locks down Monet, they turn around after losing 2 supports, and just outright win. Go into the racks, take 3 racks in a row, and don't drop a hero. It's just mind-boggling performance coming out from CDEC, both from Eve, the rest of the team, especially James. I have to say, James, he broke up every single fight that could have worked the way of RNG there, just causing massive havoc, massive headaches for the side of RNG. That was a pleasure to watch, Mike.
It certainly was. Of course, we do have game number 2 between these two coming up very, very soon. It is MLP Dota and John X Fire. We'll see you guys in just a moment for the second game of the series. Won't be too long.